talking about dining etiquette in the Ottoman Empire, the Ottomans were very, very concerned with hospitality and with hygiene. And so they were prolific writers and scholars. And so there's actually quite a number of texts that talk about how people go about doing things. Not all of them are from exactly the era of our PPF, which is set in 1550. But some of them go back as far as the 10th century, the 14th century. So there's this like ongoing dialogue over multiple centuries about what is the best way to go about being a human politely and ethically and morally in the social context. So for the purposes of our event, knowing how people went about the process of going to eat a meal at someone's house, what did that look like? How do you make yourself clean? How do you act politely and appropriately? Those are the big questions that we kind of want to answer today. So, um, item one, like dining in the Ottoman Empire was a pretty big deal. Hospitality in general was considered a very important like pillar of Islam. And as it was in a number of cultures, particularly in that area of the world and in other areas of the world at the time, the host is expected to be generous with everyone. The host is expected to welcome anyone to the table. They're not supposed to be selective. That said, socially speaking, there was some selection, and there's a lovely text about party crashing in medieval Iraq that was written in the 10th century. Um, and so yes, people would definitely, you know, work to sort of make use of that, like leverage that expectation of hospitality for their own purposes. So on the flip side of that coin, while the host is expected to be incredibly generous and hospitable to anyone and open their doors, the guests are expected to be respectful and not gluttonous, right? So, yeah, not eating excessively, not taking excessively from the plates. So a lot of the texts talk about how to go about doing that. In addition, they were very concerned with hygiene. So there's also a lot around washing. So before you sit down to eat, you're expected to take time to thoroughly wash your hands, potentially even your face, to perfume your clothes, to make yourself pleasant and like acceptable to be around. And so at our event, we're going to be having an area for hand washing with servants attending everyone. We have some historic recipes for soaps, hand washing powders, colognes. The water that's typically used for hand washing is usually scented with rose water or other botanicals. So the whole process is intended to be like a sensory delight, and it's an intrinsic part of the meal as well. So people will come, there will be a ewer, which looks like a little like slightly enlarged teapot full of water to pour water over the hands. You'll be given a little bit of washing powder that's kind of historic, like it's one of the recipes from these texts. It smells great. It's ground spices along with some soap-like elements. And so it leaves your hands feeling incredibly soft. It smells wonderful. It's fascinating because your hands get all like dark from all the dark spices as you're kind of washing them. But then as you rinse it away, your hands become so incredibly clean and soft feeling. It's the most amazing experience. So I'm hoping everyone will enjoy it a lot. So you'll come, the servants will assist you in washing your hands. They will provide you with a towel to dry your hands afterwards. If you feel that you need to wash your face, it would be totally reasonable to take a moment to do so. Um, but then you will also be given an opportunity to perfume your clothes if you wish. We are going to have hopefully one or two different cologne options, and we will also have incense so you can put scented smoke up into your garments to allow them to smell well. Incense might have been used in the dining area as well, like spaces often were perfumed. We are, for the purposes of people with allergies, not going to be using incense in the larger space, but anybody who wishes to can scent their clothes with it, which was also done. So then once you come into the dining area, you're going to be sitting on the ground to receive food from a shared plate with three other diners. So we have these dining mats, each of which will seat about four people. Plates will be placed in the middle. For the most part, you will be using your hands to eat. And traditionally, this would be done with the right hand. You would use three fingers on the right hand to pick up your food. Um, and uh, you want to make sure that you're primarily taking from the portion of the plate directly in front of you. So, like if you imagine that the plate is divided up like a pie, you take your section and you're not reaching across without talking with your, fellow diners. Like if there's a delicious morsel that you like and you think that they would be reasonably happy to share with you, by all means say, would it be okay if I ate that, that little morsel over there of whatever it is, what that piece of vegetable. But typically you want to be very cognizant to be only touching the food that you're picking up and eating in that moment and primarily taking from the portion of the plate that is, realistically allotted to you. There are discussions. There was this lovely gentleman in toward the at the beginning of the 15th century, or at the beginning of the 16th century, Muhammad Badr al-Din al-Ghazi, and he was a scholar. He was educated in Cairo and spent his life in Damascus. And he wrote an etiquette of social dining treatise. And one of a few of the things he talks about that are unpleasant are diners who reach across and like cut up all the food for everyone or salt the entire plate rather than just their portion. He also complains about the crawler who crawls onto the table before others and reaches across to get to something that's farther away. The crawler makes sense because we are on the floor sitting. Um, the the grunter and the smacker, people who are making noises with their mouths are mentioned. These are undesirable. The finger licker, do not lick your fingers. Avoid putting your fingers deeply in your mouth when you're eating. Try and keep your fingers as clean as possible so that there's this like your fingers act as this semi-clean intermediary that is barely touching the food on the plate and barely touching your mouth to deliver the food. That makes sense. Um, the a few of the other people that he mentions in his list of characters you don't want to be include the stomach turner who speaks of things that make other people's stomachs unhappy. Don't speak of gross things while you're eating. The uh, the camel neck who stretches his neck forward when he's eating so as to not drop food on his clothes, but then instead he's dripping on the table, the tablecloth, the shared space, right? You will be given a napkin at this event. After you finish washing your hands, we're going to provide, typically everyone would arrive with their own spoon. So if you wish to do some research and make or provide your own spoon for this event, that would be totally appropriate. We're going to be providing appropriate spoons for everyone as well as napkins. So we, so you will have your napkin, and it's going to be this very large piece of cloth that you'll be able to drape over yourself in whatever way you wish. Frequently, they would even have a napkin that would drape over multiple diners at one time. We are instead using the napkin as one of the things that you get to take away with you from this event. You'll get a hand sewn, hand block printed napkin to take away from this event as a memory. But it will be on your lap, so you can let your food drip onto that rather than onto the shared plate. The Terminator eats everything on the plate, leaving nothing but the bones for anyone else. So ideally, again, you want to leave a little bit of food. This was even more important in a period of time when the servants were going to be, and the people who were not able to be at the table, the lower, the folks who were a bit lower in the social hierarchy of the household, they would be eating what was left afterwards when everyone else had been served. And so you don't want to take all the food off the plate because you're leaving a little bit of food for those other people who are going to be cleaning up after you. And anything that's not eaten at the end of that would be then given away to hungry people in the town. Like they would make sure that nothing went to waste. So important to not eat. In our case, we're going to be serving very small portions. We have 20 courses in our meal. So we're going to be having very, very small portions. So it's actually completely okay for everyone to finish all the food on their plates. Our servants, because see our video about things we're not recreating, our servants aren't going to be eating after you. They're going to have their own availability of the food in the back part of the hall. So you don't need to worry in this case about not finishing your plate. By all means, please finish all of it. But historically speaking, that would be a piece of etiquette. Um, he also mentions the setter, a person who volunteers to help set dishes on the table in order to see what the tasty dishes are and to place them closer to themselves. So that is a sneaky thing that some do. Someone, like a meddlesome guest who gets up to like help rip up the lamb, help, just breaks the bread before, before it's time. The glutton, obviously, constantly stuffing his face. The racer, who has a piece of food in his hand while he's still chewing. So that's another thing, is that this is intended to be a very slow dining process. We have 20 courses, and they're going to happen over the course of 3 hours. So this is not a race to eat for sure. So generally speaking, you would completely finish what you were chewing before you would take another bite of food. Uh, yeah, the list continues on with a variety of other variety of other folks, and we'll actually include the link to this document that has the translation of some of these characters in case you're interested in reading more about them. But suffice to say, our goal is to keep things as tidy and clean as possible, to be polite to the people around you. There will be a few dishes that will use the spoons that you've provided. Again, with your spoon, you're going to do your best to be taking only from your little section of the dish because you are using a shared spoon in a dish. We're not, however, doing any soups. See, again, things that we're not doing at this event. There was actually a dialogue starting in the 14th century. A conservative Islamic scholar decried shared spoons in soup as unhygienic. So even in the 14th century, they were concerned about the germ situation with this. But by the 16th century, they were generally widely accepted. However, we are going back to a greater concern for hygiene and opting not to serve any soups. We will, however, have some thicker stews that will probably benefit from the use of your spoon. So when you use your spoon, again, be cognizant that you're eating from a shared dish with several people. Um, the last thing that I want to mention is drinking. Typically, we don't see drinking cups on the dining mats. Like in any of the miniatures we see, you see plates all over the table. And you'll see these beautiful flasks, these long-necked bottles, of which we've acquired at least one for this event, which I'm very excited about. Sourcing one of those was a bit of a challenge, but it's going to be a wonderful piece to have, make it look just like the miniatures, I hope. But typically, you don't see cups on the table in those images. Additionally, there's discussion in these etiquette documents about one of the things that's totally impolite is drinking from the cup and getting grease from your hands or your mouth on the shared cup. So in addition to sharing soups with their spoons, they would also be sharing the drinking cup, which presumably would contain a water or a sherbet, et cetera, et cetera. Typically water, I think, during the meal, and then the fancy drinks happen at a separate sort of social event, the drinking party, which tends to be like it has a little bit different social structure. So in our case, we are again not going to be recreating shared cup, so you don't have to worry about whether you're getting grease on a shared cup. But we are not going to be providing cups to be sitting with you where you are dining at. If you get thirsty, you can call a servant over. They will bring you a cup and the carafe, and they will pour you some liquid to drink. You will drink it, and then the servant's going to take that cup away again to be washed and reused. So that's another interesting piece of etiquette that you should definitely be aware of when you are participating in our lovely feast. Uh, last little bits of things to mention. Our feast is going to be hosted by a prince and his mother on the occasion of some visiting dignitaries and other honored guests. Many of you will be in the persona of people who live in the prince's territory and have been invited to this event celebrating these honored guests. So the prince and his mother and his guests will be up on a dais in one part of the room, slightly raised from everyone else. There will be several other daises, which we're going to be using to accommodate folks who can't get quite down onto the floor and will have an easier time sitting down on a raised surface, leaning their backs against the wall. So we'll have some raised daises, but everyone will have these leather dining mats that they'll sit around on cushions. And we're going to try and have cushions of varying heights so you can pad underneath your butt as much as you need to make yourself as comfortable as possible. And if you need to have assistance in getting up, another thing that you can absolutely flag your servants down for is to assist you with rising from the ground. So please don't hesitate to call over some of our strapping young assistants to help you with getting up if you end up finding that you're having a little bit of a difficult time, or you would like to just make use of the fact that there's someone who can assist you with this. And wouldn't that be pleasant for us to like interact with our other humans in assistive ways? Like that's something that we don't do as much of in our modern culture. We all try to be very modern and independent. And in this case, we have people available to help us. So I hope that some folks will make use of that in this particular case. So I think that covers most of what I wanted to for etiquette. So thank you all very much for listening. Do you have any other questions, Mary, that I didn't talk about?
I think you covered, is there any sort of practice for beginning or ending the meal that we're expecting? Um, some feasts have toast or other expectations. Is
Great
there anything like
question.
that we need to worry about?
Great question. Typically, historically, the meeting would begin with a prayer. That's one of the things that we're probably not going to recreate. That said, the prince will probably say a few words to begin the meal. I suspect that he will say those words. We will probably try to time it so that he is saying those words at or like right when the first plate is being delivered to everyone. So wait for the prince's go ahead to begin dining. But at that point, the dining can continue and commence. You're also welcome to get up in the middle of the meal. It's a 3 hour process. So feel free to get up, walk about the room, converse with your other diners, ideally then return to your place to continue eating because otherwise you might miss one of the wonderful dishes. They're going to come out every, I think, 5 minutes over the course of the 3 hours. So yeah, there will be quite a number of them. Uh, as far as ending the meal goes, the end of the meal will be that all guests are going to be brought a glass of sherbet. And again, I'm sure the prince is going to address all of his guests and let everyone know what's happening. But the servants are going to bring out trays of sherbet, again, in individual glasses. The prince is very wealthy and he has these beautiful glasses imported from Venice that he will be offering everyone with sherbet, which is water flavored with a botanical syrup. So it's typically fruits and spices and other interesting flavors. So there'll be a glass of sherbet that every guest will be provided to begin the drinking portion of the evening. And then everyone can get up and take their glasses out into the garden, and we will have our garden party portion. And the garden party portion is going to have not only the sherbet and the water, but we'll have wine and another liqueur called Rocky available. So you'll have a variety of different drinks. And one of his honored guests actually makes coffee. And so we're going to be having Turkish coffee as well. So lots of different things to enjoy as you wander about the beautiful garden and listen to some of the entertainments that the prince has organized for the event. So that'll be how the feast will end.
Very nice. Thank you very much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, wonderful. I look forward to seeing everyone there. We are going to be providing an orientation that will cover quite a bit of this information as well. Before the event starts, we want to make sure that everyone has clarity about what we're doing and what they're expected to do so everyone can relax and have an enjoyable and immersive time and not be stressed about doing things wrong. That is absolutely not the thing we want. We want everyone to like know the things that they need to know and to just relax and enjoy the wonderful meal that the prince is providing for you in this wonderful and immersive environment. So we'll go over all of this again at our orientation, which I think is happening at 2:30 on the day of the event. So if you arrive in time for that, please do. Then we can make sure that you're ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you very much for giving that information on hygiene. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.